Hello and welcome to my post Fulham, very post Fulham, pre Bournemouth thoughts combined video. I'm going to try and keep my thoughts post Fulham pretty short because I'm sure it's already been talked out. It's already Thursday afternoon when I'm recording this. It's actually halftime of the Europa League. And I just want to get my thoughts out there. We're going to keep the post Fulham thoughts pretty short and focus mostly on Bournemouth because I think that is the game outside of the final game at Old Trafford last day, leave it all on the pitch. This is probably the game that I am most worried about, but we will get into that. So, starting off with the post Fulham thoughts. We got the job done. Literally the bare minimum, a 1-0 goal. It certainly wasn't a smash and grab. I don't think that a Villa victory at Villa Park will ever be smash and grab. But, we did create a lot. Ali missed at least one that was pretty darn scoreable from Cash. But I just hope that he isn't in his own head about, honestly, less the competition at center forward that he's been getting from Rashford and less about that. And straight up more about, hitting certain numbers. I think we saw a similar thing last season, excuse me, when he was closing in on 20 Premier League goals. He he had a lot of opportunities to do it to the point I think he had like 5 or 6 games to do it and just couldn't get that final goal. I don't know how much of that was just exhaustion as opposed to because he doesn't really get injured much. So he may have just needed a rest and now he's currently got the Villa Premier League goal all-time goal scorer record on his mind. He is currently tied with Gabby. One more, and he's the record holder. And there's a credible possibility that he could be leaving for Arsenal or just generally leaving this summer. I think I really feel better keeping him through January because I think summer, that's when you make a big move. And what I'm kind of thinking and hoping is that Arsenal are going to go in for a bigger, more exciting name. Like Ollie Watkins, I was thinking about this the other day. Like when there was the Watkins versus Duran argument, Ollie Watkins is the guy who's, hello, sir, it's a pleasure to meet you. Whereas John Duran is, your daughter calls me daddy too. Like those are they're two different strikers. That's just their game. They play two different games. And now that they're going to be, summer, it's not a desperate bid at when Villa were already selling John Duran and would have had to replace him in like 2 or 3 days or something. I think there's a decent chance that we keep him, especially if Rashford doesn't stay, which is highly likely. We were probably always a shop window. Fair enough. And I've completely gotten off of topic from post Fulham. I do apologize. Um, The one other thing that I really wanted to say, I've really covered my thoughts, lots of missed chances. Good recovery from that shameful display in the FA Cup. I was disgusted by that. Frankly, they should have won 5-0. I didn't think that first goal should have been chalked off, and they should have converted their penalty. But last thing I'm going to say before on Fulham before going into Bournemouth, just because, narratives are always interesting in football. That's why we watch football, right? During our run in the 22-23 season, we played Fulham at Villa Park and beat them 1-0 with a first half header. Is that potentially a sign? Don't worry, I don't believe in any of that. That we're going to go on another incredible run to end the season. Hopefully, all wins, but definitely undefeated. Maybe. Or is it a sign that Palace are going to pull off the impossible in the FA Cup? Not the impossible, but they're going to shock City in the FA Cup, and no matter what we do, we're kind of stuck in 7th and will be competing in the Conference League? I don't know. Just thought it's interesting. So now that we've put our behind in the past, let's move on to the future with my pre-Bournemouth thoughts. So, moving into those pre-Bournemouth thoughts, let's talk about Bournemouth. They have arguably been one of the stories of the season. At one point, I think they were up to fifth. Now they're in, I think, eighth, ninth. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Eighth, ninth, and tenth. It's back enough from Villa that I'm not like worried. I think that we would have to lose all of their games, and whoever's in eighth would have to win all of theirs. And I'm not that worried, but great season. If they can get into Europe, what a story! An adventure they get to go on next season. Um, they have been fading away a little bit, but they beat Arsenal at the Emirates. Now Arsenal in a weird spot, but let's not get too down the weeds. Beat Arsenal at the Emirates for the first time. Great, did the double over them. Really, really impressive. Now Villa typically don't play particularly well at Dean Court / the Vitality. We lost there on the first day of the season last in the 22-23 season under Gerrard, where Mings wasn't starting. Ollie Watkins wasn't starting up front. And, prior to the Rashford loan, that was unthinkable. Danny Ings was starting up front. And listen, I like Danny Ings, but looking at where things have kind of gone since then, pretty shocking. And then, yeah, last season it was a 2-2 draw. If I remember, we had to come back twice to get that point. I just remember Bailey scored the second. I believe Watkins scored the first goal. That's irrelevant either way. We haven't in the last 2 seasons played well. I am hoping we can go down there and get a big win. This is the strongest squad. I already covered that. Strongest squad. Also wins at the Emirates. Now, the one thing is, from what I saw, and I have not been paying attention to Bournemouth as much as I probably should, and as much as I probably should have researched before making this video, but it seems they've got some key players coming back from injury. I saw Semenyo got subbed on. Kirkez, I know, is coming back from an injury, but he did start and I believe played the full 90 against Arsenal, or pretty darn close. So I'm kind of hoping. I don't like that they've had bodily injuries. I don't wish bodily injuries on people, but if they have to limit minutes due to coming back from injury, I would not be sad. Yeah. The big question for me now is Villa in individual games have had a hard time staying focused until that final whistle. Bournemouth at home, we conceded with basically the last kick of the game. We conceded very late against Brighton. May have even been, I believe it was in stoppage time. Couldn't see out Ipswich going up 2-0. And if there was going to be a third goal for either team, it was coming for Ipswich, not us. So I do have concern about if we can't keep our focus for a full 90, can we keep it for basically the remaining 270 minutes? I keep saying 4 because for starting from Fulham was basically when we were like, all right, this is our only competition. Got to leave it all on the pitch. There's been the one thing I think is it's going to be one in the defense, and I will go more into that later. I am hoping that we're able to just use our depth to beat them, kind of similar to how we beat Southampton with all substitutes, and Newcastle. Just you look at their starting 11 might be stronger, but like our bench is so much stronger. The trouble is we have there's been some legginess showing. Rodgers he wasn't getting in the game much. Asensio's gone cold. Rashford might be out for the rest of the season. I am a little concerned. Like, yes, these are all pretty attacked, and we do have a lot of depth. We've got Ramsey, we've got Mullen, we've got McGinn who can attack. I would like to see Emery throw everything he can, whether that's throwing Bailey on in the last, like, I don't know, 30, 20, 25 minutes. I don't really care how long, just to throw as much as they can at it, because if you're a tired fullback and you got Leon Bailey running at you, that's not exactly what you want. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think it's going to come down to the defenses. Bournemouth with Zabarni and Hodgson. I am so sorry if I pronounce things wrong. I'm just not good at pronouncing things. They have been a solid center back partnership. Kirkez is being linked with a big money move away. So, and I don't, when I think of teams that concede a lot of goals, Bournemouth aren't one of them. They've been, I think, very consistent as well this season. Um, but and Villa's defense has not been nearly as good as it was last season. Last season, that high line worked to perfection. I think we caught opponents offside like 4 times more than second place. We were the most, we caught other teams offside the most. And whoever was second was, I think, like half, or like, I think maybe even a quarter. But it hasn't been working this season. Pau Torres is, for everything people like to say about, oh, Mings is so crap, Mings is so crap, like, why don't they sell him? There's a reason, because Pau is not that good defensively. He's a bit of, I'm going to use the L word, liability. And his long ball quality this season has not been all that much better, or it hasn't been better than anything Mings could do. So, not great. I think that for a game like this, where we need to be big and physical and tough and keep them out, because it's going to be a raucous atmosphere. They're fighting for Europe. We're fighting for what European competition we're going to be in. We need probably Mings and Konsa in there. Um, and we also need Cash to be at his best. I don't want to hear a freaking word about Andres Garcia being anywhere near the starting 11 in this run-in. He is not experienced enough. We saw what he did against Liverpool, giving the ball away sloppily that led to a goal. I'm not making excuses for him because he's 21. Cash is the number one right back. I don't want to hear anything else. And listen, I love Matty Cash, but he's a bit of a liability for giving away penalties. I forget how long the window was, but I believe it was the start of the 23-24 season where he's given away the most penalties. And listen, whilst he's an attacking fullback, he does clearly get some joy defending. He likes putting a crunching tackle. And listen, I love watching a crunching tackle from a fullback. That's why, fun fact, fullback is my favorite position. Left back, right back, don't care. Love a fullback. Yeah, so that is something that, but I am optimistic. Cash kept a lid on Robinson and Iwobi, so that's promising. I just hope that he doesn't slip up here, mostly because he's never going to hear the end of it. And moving on to the more consistent center back in our setup, Konsa, he has been pissing me off quite a bit lately. I'm not going to lie. He has added this annoying thing of going down for a foul where it's like questionable. And that's why I don't know, like, that first goal in the FA Cup, that should have stood. I'm a Villa fan, and like, I have heard people say by the letter of the law. But for me, that was soft and we got very lucky. And then against Fulham, I don't remember the exact play, but at the time right now, but Emery was chewing him out for that, like on the sideline. He was not happy, and I hope that they've had a more calm conversation where Emery has said, you cannot count on the referees to bail you out like that. Like, he is a great one-on-one defender. Saka has said he likes working with Konsa when they're at England camps because he's such a good defender. He's hard to get past, and it's true. He has been that last man since Smith, Gerrard, Emery. He's that last man. And I don't like seeing him get out of trouble by just going down for a foul. It's just, it's really gross. It's bad. But I'm not going to get too much into that. I will instead wrap up this rambling video with the big question that I kind of alluded to earlier. Is our attacking threat enough? It's been looking a little limp lately. Watkins hasn't been his best. He's been missing quite a bit of chances, which Villa fans go in knowing that Ollie might need two, three, maybe even four chances to convert. Um, but it's been really bad lately. Yes, he did outstanding against Newcastle, but just that I think was a bit of an outlier. Rogers, amazing season, goals, assists, all over in all of the competitions, but he looked leggy lately. He's been playing a lot of football. Um, he's being also pushed out to the right side, which I hate. He is most effective in the middle. I know Asensio said he's most effective in the 10, but you're better on the right than Rogers is. And Asensio is running cold. I don't remember his last goal contribution. It's been a while. And this is a big concern. We also don't know if Rashford will be back at all because, if anything, at most, he has 2 games left because can't play against Man United, who we play on the last day of the season. Um, so now, even though I've just listed 4 huge names for us, it's we still do have a lot of quality. I'm hoping that hopefully Rogers has gotten some time off, he'll be able to start. But if not, we do have Mullen. He's looked bright when he's gotten appearances. Maybe he could get a full 90. Um, Ramsey on the left is always a threat, even though he does tend to drift inward, but he's effective. He's a good carrier of the ball. He can find a shot. He can create chaos on the box. And I am optimistic that. Oh, and of course, Leon Bailey, who I mentioned earlier, maybe just throw him on if, it's scoreless or we need a goal to just salvage a draw. Throw him on. You never know what he can create. If I'm being pushed for a score, listen, I will not accept a draw. I will not accept a loss. A draw will be hard to stomach, but it's one of those things where, if there is a winner between Chelsea or Newcastle, or even if they draw, like, okay, we're at least keeping pace with them, but I am going to be optimistic, even though my head is full of all of the anxiety about this game. 2-1 Aston Villa. Don't press me for our goal scorer. This is just me hoping the more I've dug into the finances, the more afraid I am of what not getting Champions League will mean. And especially if we don't get Europa League, yikes. So those are my kind of meandering thoughts, and I hope it at least gave you a little bit more context to what's going on at Villa if you're not a Villa fan, or if you are, let me know. Do I have it wrong?